The trip from the beginning was an incredible experience for our girls. The only thing that slightly displeased Gu-won was when they arrived at the house where they were going to stay and discovered it had only 2 rooms, meaning the president's son would have to share a room with Sang-sik instead of his beloved. Gu-won even considered changing the accommodation, but upon seeing Sarang having fun in the pool with her friends, he simply accepted the small inconvenience he would face at night. However, what was supposed to be a trip with romantic moments didn't go as planned because Sang-sik kept everyone together all the time and didn't allow any room in the schedule for our young couple to enjoy some alone time. Nevertheless, the protagonist greatly enjoyed having fun with the girls and trying the local cuisine, not to mention the tourist spots that enchant anyone. And when everyone was asleep, the couple took advantage of a moment alone in the pool. The next night, while dining on a cruise, Ro-woon appeared to join the group. It turns out that he wanted to see Pyonghwa, so when he found out he was flying to where she would be, Ro-woon didn't waste any time. In the end, he only added to everyone's happiness, and the fun continued. The next day, when Ro-woon woke up early for work, Pyonghwa left a prepared breakfast for him to have the energy to face the day. Later, to make the most of their last hours in the country, Gu-won and Sarang woke up early and sneaked away from the rest of the group to enjoy the place alone. This was really good for the couple, as the president's son always took his beloved to the best places. In one of them, Gu-won felt secure enough to tell the protagonist about his family's history. Hwa-ran is his half-sister, and he was born to the president's second wife. However, when he was little, Gu-won's mother just disappeared one day, and since then, he has never seen her again, even though he searched for her extensively. Even seeing the child in tears, the president's staff continued with the protocol of smiling, and it was then that Gu-won developed an aversion to fake smiles, associating them with monsters. But Sarang came into young Gu-won's life, changing this perception, and with her sincere smile, she won him over. Now that she knows what happened to make her beloved the way he is, the protagonist comments that they can search for the woman together, which makes Gu-won happy, even though he responds that it's not necessary. The next day, none of the group members wanted to return, but to make going home easier to accept, Gu-won prepared a surprise for them and put everyone in the executive class. Back at work, Sarang brought souvenirs from Thailand for each of her team colleagues, which helped ease some of the envy they were feeling. Meanwhile, Hwa-ran once again tries to interfere in the organization of the King Hotel's 100th anniversary, but seeing that she was losing the argument with Gu-won about whom he should invite, she resorted to her usual tactic of talking about the mother who abandoned him. In the next scene, we move to Daeul, who is already stressed at work because he once again raised the sales target, which is now almost impossible to achieve. And as Daeul expressed her concern, knowing the team wouldn't be able to meet it, he threatened that if they didn't reach it, someone would have to be fired, and that choice would be Daeul's. Meanwhile, Pyonghwa faces that annoying commander who keeps bothering her again. The man mocked her for not being promoted, and since Pyonghwa once again refused to go out with him, the commander invited the entire team. However, Ro-woon understood what the man was doing, and acting quickly, he said he couldn't participate, so as soon as he was dismissed, Ro-woon took Pyonghwa with him, leaving the commander furious. Moving on to the unexpected meeting of the pair, Ro-woon talks once again about his feelings when questioned about them, and Pyonghwa explains that she can't reciprocate. However, as expected from this incredibly polite person, Ro-woon says it's okay, she can feel comfortable with her feelings, as he will do the same, always without crossing the line, if that's what she wants. In the following days, Gu-won and Sarang focused on the hotel event, and in their free time, they enjoyed each other's company. But during one of their breaks, the president's son took the opportunity to visit his beloved's grandmother and bring some gifts from Thailand for the lady and her friends. Getting closer to his future grandson-in-law, soon he tells him Sarang's story. The protagonist never complained about growing up away from her mother, but when she grew up and missed her, during Sarang's move, an accident happened, and the girl's grandmother was the only person she had left. Hearing this story touched Gu-won, and he promised the lady that he would protect and take care of both of them as much as he could. Meanwhile, Sarang was up to something at the hotel. When she learned that the doorman was the person who had worked there the longest, she asked him if he happened to know a former employee named Miso, who is Gu-won's mother. The man even remembers her, but he doesn't have any information about the woman, although he suggests someone who works in the laundry that might help Sarang with this. In the next scene, we see Waran talking with the president, and the woman tries to start a discord between the man and Gu-won. First, she asks the president to remove him from organizing the event and the rights he has at the hotel. Then, when the first request doesn't work, Waran comments that Gu-won is becoming more like his mother every day, which affects the man a bit, causing him to leave the room. Later, we see the president talking with Gu-won, and concerned about the direction things might take, he warns his son that he knows what he wants to change in the King group, but it's better not to do it, and this is just a warning. The next day, the big 100-year event arrived, and it was very well organized, leaving everyone enchanted. Demonstrating that he really didn't follow what his sister imposed, Gu-won invited a former hotel guest, whose father was responsible for planting and donating a beautiful tree in front of the place, and most importantly, the first associate the hotel had, to give a speech. This obviously left the woman irritated because she had arranged with her guest that he would have a chance to speak right after the president, but as I just mentioned, it was Waran who gave her word, not Gu-won. In any case, the president was very pleased with Gu-won's gesture and was even moved to meet the son of an old friend. Afterward, Gu-won invited the doorman to the stage to say a few words as the longest-serving employee, and once again, Waran was annoyed. Looking at the faces of each guest, we can see that many of them are long-time employees, and this event tested what Gu-won defends most, that it's the employees who make the company. Thus, they were the ones who gave the subsequent speeches, and Waran was left speechless in front of her special guest. Later, the president retrieved an old plan that Gu-won's mother had made for the hotel, which is exactly how his son wants to transform the place. Il-hun was happy to reminisce, but Waran brought him back to reality when she found him and demonstrated her fury. To celebrate the success of the event, Sarang took advantage of Pyeonghwa not being home and invited Gu-won to spend the night there. However, in the end, Deul invited Ru-won, Sang-sik, and Pyeonghwa to hang out at the residence, and just when romance was blossoming, the group caught the two kissing. Now that they know a bit about the couple, the girls demand that there be no more secrets between them. Thus, Gu-won decides to reveal that he is the president's son and that Sang-sik is actually his secretary. The girls and Ro-woon are surprised by this news and quickly change the way they treat Gu-won. But over the evening, he mentions that it was good to hide this at the beginning because it allowed him to identify several flaws his father's company had in various departments. Besides Sarang's friends, Sang-sik was also upset about not knowing about their relationship and even made a scene for Gu-won. The next day, we start with a scene where the shareholders are very pleased with the event's outcome and even say they now think differently about Gu-won, who previously just seemed like a spoiled man. However, Waran doesn't like hearing these words and reminds them who has been by their side all this time, cleaning up some messes and granting favors. In the end, she asks that only those who follow her attend the meeting with the president and hotel management. Knowing the event's success, the next step was for the president to pass the hotel's management to Gu-won, but Waran changed that by bringing up an emergency plan to deal with the King Group's crisis. The president isn't naive, he knows his daughter just wants to delay Gu-won from taking over the King Hotel, so to avoid giving either of them an advantage, he says that whoever presents the best emergency plan will get the hotel. Meanwhile, Pyeonghwa, tired of being made a fool at work, spoke with her superior, who will leave that position for another, on her last day. She demanded an apology for promising her a promotion and not delivering, but the superior threatened Pyeonghwa. She said that if Pyeonghwa continued bothering her, she would reveal the woman's secret to everyone, the one the commander keeps bragging about, which is that Pyeonghwa is divorced. It turns out that in Korea, it's still a bit difficult to talk about topics like this, a divorced woman isn't viewed favorably, and in this case, it worsens when we learn that Pyonghwa was deceived. Her ex-boyfriend, when they celebrated 100 days of dating, joked with Pyonghwa that she should sign some documents, which turned out to be a marriage certificate, and unknowingly, the man registered the document as soon as they ended the relationship. When the girls found out, they did everything to help their friend, but the only way to annul the marriage certificate was to file for divorce. Returning to the protagonist, an awkward situation arose at her work. Hwa-ran invited her special guest to lunch at the Royal Smile to apologize, but already irritated and perhaps lacking manners, the man started getting annoyed with everything Sarang did and eventually threw a napkin at the protagonist, demanding that Hwa-ran fire her. Even knowing that Sarang wasn't to blame for the man's behavior, Hwa-ran was going to proceed with the protagonist's dismissal and was only stopped when Gu-won appeared. Of course, the deputy was even more irritated by the way Gu-won asked him to be more respectful and soon left the place. This led Hwa-ran to suspect that Gu-won has feelings for the protagonist, and after saying it wouldn't be difficult because it's in his blood, she also left. Later, we see Sarang also apologizing to her team for the trouble caused because of her, but her colleagues recognized that the protagonist had nothing to do with the situation, and now the woman started feeling more accepted by them. In the next scene, we see Hwa-ran inviting Sang-sik for a private conversation and offering him the position of chief manager at the hotel. She asked to know everything he knows about Gu-won, even his brother's personal life. The next day, Sarang goes to speak with the lady who works in the hotel's laundry, whom the doorman had recommended to her. There, the protagonist discovers that Miso was this lady's best friend, a very courageous and beautiful person. Then, when Sarang later meets Gu-won, she takes him to a place that reminds him of his mother and, mentioning that the lady has information about his mother, encourages him to pursue it so he doesn't miss the opportunities she didn't have. Switching to Hwa-ran, she is surprised to discover that her son Ji-hoo is in Korea and scolds him for returning just because he was homesick. The little one studies abroad, but even when he's in the country, Hwa-ran, who is always very focused on her work, doesn't pay attention to him, and now, once again, Ji-hoo feels upset, thinking he only brings problems to her. The next day, Sarang is surprised at work when her superior mentions the dream team to her. Everyone thinks the Royal Smile is the highest position an employee can achieve, but the dream team is above that and involves serving the president at his residence. Only the best of the best go there, and today, as they need one more employee, Sarang was chosen. As expected, it's a team where everyone is very well trained, and mistakes aren't accepted. So moving to the day when the protagonist serves in this position for the first time, we see that Sarang makes a mistake. It turns out the event the team was called for at the president's house was a lunch where he would arrange his son's marriage to the daughter of his competitor, the same one who had her birthday at the King Hotel and seemed so close to Gu-won. Sarang ended up breaking a dish upon hearing what the event was about, and very embarrassed, amid confusion, she understood that she might never be part of this team again. Gu-won was also surprised when he saw her, but he told her not to worry and that he would resolve the marriage issue. Then, Sarang is taken to the staff area, and there her superior sends her to work upstairs so she doesn't cause more confusion. Meanwhile, Gu-won really resolved his situation and apologized but made it clear that he wouldn't marry the woman because he loved someone else. The protagonist ends up having to deal with the president's grandson, who is a bit mischievous, but somehow Ji-hoo liked Sarang's way. And at the end of the day, she receives a payment for the work equivalent to her salary. What did you think of these episodes? I hope you enjoyed the summary. Leave your suggestions in the comments and subscribe. If you liked the video, like and share to help me out. See you next time.